Our top story this morning, the special official funeral of the late retired Constitutional Justice Yvonne Mokgoro takes place in Bryanston, Johannesburg this morning. She passed away at the age of 73 earlier this month. Mokgoro was one of the first justices to be appointed to the Constitutional Court when it was established in 1994 and the first black woman judge of the Apex Court. Now let's cross over to our reporter who is covering the funeral, Kani Mapanga. Kani, talk to us about what's happening at the moment.
Well, good morning to you, Leanne, and to the viewers at home. We are indeed outside the family home in Parkhurst ahead of that official Category 1 funeral of the late retired Justice Yvonne Mokgoro. You may remember that she is a professor of law, a giant in the legal profession, someone who took the bench, the Constitutional Court bench in 1994, served a full term of 15 years and dedicated her life rather to incorporating human rights and the principle of Ubuntu into South African law. Now, we do reflect on this rich legacy today, and we are going to be seeing the President deliver the eulogy later at that church in Bryanston, a service that will be befitting of the kind of figure that the nation is mourning today. But to elaborate further, I am joined by her son, Mr. Ithateng Mokgoro, this morning, just ahead of that ceremony, or the service rather, to celebrate her life and her legacy. Quite an outpouring of support since she passed away, Mr. Mokgoro. Condolences to you and the family. How's the family keeping up? How are they doing as we prepare, or the nation rather, prepares to mourn with you on the life and legacy of your mother?
Yeah, it's up and down. It's sometimes we're okay, as it should be, because we've been working. We've been doing this for a year. We've been nursing Mama for just over a year, 13 months. And yet, you know, when people come and we reflect, and those moments when things become poignant, it hits you that she's gone and she's not coming back, and it's really hard to take.
I remember during the memorial service you spoke about her strength and her resilience in this year-long fight of a recovery. She was involved in a tragic car accident and spent the last year, trying to come back to recovery. Can you talk us through that journey for your mother leading up to those last days?
Yes, we shared information as we needed to share it, and we were hopeful, but they went in an accident, she and the driver that she was with, and they were hit by a truck. And the result was that she ended up in ICU in a hospital in Kimberley. 2 weeks into that hospital stay, she experienced a cardiac arrest, which essentially rendered her motionless, and we didn't know to what extent her senses were functional. And she stayed that way in a diminished state of consciousness for the rest of the time, her time here on the planet, on Earth, in life. And we continued to nurse her from hospital to hospital. I think she must have been in 3 different hospitals and a step-down facility, and ultimately a frail care home. Real hard struggle in and out of ICU, and I think it's okay that she's gone because of what she has had to go through to stay alive. And credit to her. And I said also in that address that maybe it's life that was holding on to her, because of the contribution that she has made, also just to give us a chance to get her things right.
Speaking of that contribution, she was the first black woman founding Concord Justice. That was in 1994, appointed by the then President Nelson Mandela. Now, if we look 30 years into democracy, we are now one step closer to having a black woman Chief Justice in the Constitutional Court. How would she reflect on this legacy, which really started with her being the first black woman on the bench? Now, 30 years later, South Africa is going to realize that it just needs that final nod from the president. Yes. But it will just realize the first black woman Chief Justice. I'm sure she would be extremely proud of the advancement of women in the legal profession, especially in the highest court in the land.
Yeah. And myself and my siblings are in the fortunate position to call her Auntie Mandisa, because we have known her for so long. She and my mother go back a long way. They were in the US in the 90s, early 90s, studying together. And at that time, they didn't know that their paths would land them in the same place, in the same bench, actually. As it turns out, my mother, opened the path for other women, and Auntie Mandisa, president permitting, will step forward and take up the mantle on behalf of other women, which is really a great story in my view. It's a fantastic story.
Right.
It's a great ending to this small tale, part of it anyway, because there's a lot more coming from Auntie Mandisa, I believe.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Ithateng Mokgoro reflecting on the great ending to Justice Mokgoro's legacy that she started in 1994 when she took that bench. Just to give you a quick view of the family home outside in Parkhurst, we see some family members have gathered already outside the house and have gone into the house to prepare for that final send-off later today in Bryanston. Of course, SABC News will be giving you that rolling coverage as we pay tribute rather and send that final goodbye to a giant in the legal profession. Over to you in studio.
All right, thanks very much giving us an update as to what's going on there. But what we can tell you, a little bit more detail, is that service does begin at 10 o'clock this morning, and it will be at the Bryanston Catholic Church. Also on Monday, there's going to be a memorial service at the Constitutional Court. They will also be holding that on Monday the 27th at 10 o'clock, and that's also a public event. So lots to look forward to coming up to celebrate the life of the late Yvonne Mokgoro.